Starbucks argued that giving the pay raises to unionized baristas would have been illegal. The judge stated that Starbucks so misapprehended basic labor law concepts.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
We're going to go ahead and jump right into Last Week in Southern Labor, though. Last Week in Southern Labor is a segment that we do every week where we tell you what happened in the labor movement in the South. Lots of stuff gets coverage, but not lots of stuff about workers. And workers are doing a lot of stuff even here in the South. So here's what workers in the Southern United States and her colonies were up to in the week ending on September 29th. Before we jump into the new filings, which is the first part of Last Week in Southern Labor, I want to have a kind of preamble there to say that we can, I'm continuing to try to make the newsletter more useful and informative for everybody. And so during Last Week in Southern Labor, I am going to be adding whether or not the new filing is employer filed or worker filed. So is the employer filing for a union election, or are the workers filing for a union election? And an employer filed petition is one that was, you guessed it, filed by an employer after their workers requested voluntary recognition with at least 50% plus one showing, with at least a 50% plus one showing of authorization cards. Those are documents that workers sign stating that they wish to be unionized. Employer filed petitions have significantly increased in the last month following the CMEX ruling, which now states that if 50% plus one of your workers sign authorization cards and request recognition, then you have to recognize them as a union or file for a secret ballot election within 10 days. So this is one more way that the NLRB is speeding up the election process and making it easier for workers to unionize. So we want to make sure that y'all know about that, and that you know not to be worried when you read that an employer filed for a union election, because in fact, it's good. It means that the workforce has already shown majority support and they've already forced the boss to act. So that can be a very empowering thing. Without further ado, these are the filings from the last week. The employer filed for a petition for union election after 24 workers at Starbucks in Farmers Branch, Texas, showed majority support for unionizing with Starbucks Workers United. 19 workers at Spirit Lexus in Creve Coeur, Missouri, filed for a union election with the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, IAMAW District Lodge 9. 2 nurses at Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C., filed for a union election with the D.C. Nurses Association. 3 mechanics and other workers at ISS Action in Del Rio, Texas, filed for a union election with IAMAW Local Lodge 2949. 101 security guards at Max Cent and Kerberos International as joint employers in Spotsylvania, Virginia, filed for a union election with the International Guards Union of America. 8 workers at L&W Supply Corporation in Carnes, Tennessee, filed for a union election with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 519. 47 security guards at Constellus in Herndon, Virginia, filed for a union election with the Protective Service Officers United. The employer filed for a union election after 9 workers at Home State, a joint operation LLC, showed majority support for unionization with the Teamsters, Local 955. 20 workers at Aerostar Airport Holdings in Carolina, Puerto Rico, filed for a union election with IAMAW. 6 workers at Lush Cosmetics in Lexington, Kentucky, filed for a union election with the United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 227. 34 security guards at FJC Security Services Incorporated in Nashville, Tennessee, filed for a union election with the International Guards Union of America. And 50 workers at Morton Salt in Cape Canaveral, Florida, withdrew their petition for a union election with the United Steelworkers International Union. 54 workers at the Springs of Avalon in West Memphis, Arkansas, filed to decertify their union, UFCW Local 1529, and 7 workers at Missouri Red Quarries in Ironton, Missouri, filed to decertify their union, the Laborers International Union of North America, Missouri, and Kansas Laborers District Council. Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate. In election results, 4 quality assurance workers at Mid-America Conversion Services in Keyville, Kentucky, won their union election with the United Steelworkers unanimously. 12 workers at Restaurant Technologies in Dallas, Texas, won their union election with the Teamsters Local 745, 9-2. 94 workers at Silgan Containers Manufacturing Corporation in St. Joseph, Missouri, won their election to unionize with the Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers International Association. The acronym is SMART, Local 2. They won their election 43-39. In an election between 2 unions, 29 workers at MV Transportation in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, decided to unionize with the Transport Workers Union over the Amalgamated Transit Union, Local 1546, with 16 voting for the TWU, 2 voting for ATU, and 4 voting for no union at all. 9 workers at French Truck in New Orleans, Louisiana, won their union election with the Teamsters Local 270 unanimously, and 20 workers at Starbucks in Lexington, South Carolina, won their election to unionize with the Starbucks Workers United unanimously. We had a few settlements, grievances, and unfair labor practices that happened last week. The biggest one being that an administrative law judge held that Starbucks broke federal labor law when it withheld new raises and benefits only from unionized or unionizing stores in a nationwide ruling from Bloomberg. The judge ordered Starbucks to compensate thousands of unionized workers for the wages and benefits they were unlawfully denied. Starbucks argued that giving the pay raises to unionized baristas would have been illegal because federal law prohibits the company from making unilateral changes to union workers' jobs. The judge stated that this argument was not lodged in good faith and would require her to presume that Starbucks and its attorneys, quote, so misapprehended basic labor law concepts that it considered itself compelled to deny wage and benefit increases on the basis of employees' union activities. Starbucks Workers United tweeted in response to that turns out the, quote, we are very stupid, unquote, legal argument did not convince the judge. The Georgia Staff Organization prevailed in an arbitration case where they asserted that they were being denied meal reimbursements by the Georgia Association of Educators, which is an NEA affiliate, despite unambiguous language in their collective bargaining agreement. In strikes and bargaining updates, the staff at the AFL-CIO headquarters has begun informational picketing outside the office in D.C. as they try to bargain a new contract. Pay is the primary issue, with staff, and this is crazy, with staff at the AFL-CIO headquarters saying that they have not received a raise in 9 years. And they say that has led to a marked attrition in staff and difficulty attracting talent. They have barely more than half the staff they did 7 years ago, and they say that entire departments are now going unstaffed. Alabama school teachers will receive, wait for it, a whopping 2% raise this year, beginning on October the 1st. And I was just told last week that the big scary teacher union secures higher wages than they deserve. Which is weird that they are taking a pay cut again this year in real wages when you account for inflation. Very strange. But, you know, I've just been told that I'm wrong about the teachers union. United Airline pilots secured and then ratified a tentative agreement that includes, among other things, a 40% raise. 188 UAW members at ZF Manufacturing, which is a Mercedes parts manufacturer, are still on strike in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Shangri-La dispensary workers with UFCW Local 655 in Columbia, Missouri, are still on strike. They began in May. Three Brothers coffee workers with UFCW Local 1995 in Nashville, Tennessee, have been on strike since June, as have Memphis soy protein production workers with the Bakery, Confectionery, Tobacco Workers, and Grain Millers International Union Local 390G. UAW has expanded their strikes to 2 more facilities at Ford and GM, sparing Stellantis from strike expansions this time, adding 7,000 workers to the strike, bringing the total number of Big 3 UAW members on strike to 25,000. The union at NPR has come to a tentative agreement with the broadcasting organization, guaranteeing remote and hybrid work over the life of the agreement. And 1,400 members of the Communication Workers of America ratified their tentative agreement with Frontier Communications in West Virginia and Regular Virginia. The CWA says they achieved significant wage increases, preserved existing job security language, and maintained quality health and welfare benefits. In addition, Frontier has committed to creating additional jobs and a long-term work-at-home agreement. In policy, politics, and legislation, the U.S. Department of Labor has awarded the AFL-CIO Working in America Institute a grant to launch a pilot program in Birmingham, Alabama, in order to empower women, especially women of color, to join our nation's manufacturing workforce and obtain good-paying jobs that lead to lifelong careers. About 22,000 Alabamians lost Medicaid coverage in July, according to recent eligibility data from the Alabama Medicaid Agency. Jennifer Harris, health policy advocate with the nonprofit Alabama Arise, anticipates that eventually 60 to 80,000 Alabamians will lose coverage because of the end of the COVID-19 emergency. Mississippi's state auditor released a report attacking the state's colleges, in particular what remains of their humanities programs. And the United Campus Workers of Mississippi replied in a statement saying, in part, our colleges and universities do not exist solely to, quote, produce graduates who complement Mississippi's workforce needs. They exist to enable students to pursue the study of subjects they find meaningful and important. If we missed anything, let us know about your union updates and keep us up to date so that we don't miss anything in the future. You can do that at tvlr.fm/contact.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.